Back in high school, while everyone was admiring the beautiful jokes about slim waists and long legs, I set my sights on the invisible little girl that all the boys in school looked down upon. Not because she would become the universally accepted joke at the graduation party. It was because I didn't want to miss out on a girl who had always quietly liked me. In my previous life as a simp, I deliberately took photos of Shin Qinglan holding hands with an older man to please her, which indirectly triggered that collective bullying. What she found hardest to accept was that the boy she had secretly loved for years was actually the real culprit behind the bullying. Although she fled the rumors after transferring, this incident became the root of her depression. The last line of the note read, "The gun that killed me was taken down from the class many years ago." Out of guilt, the first thing I did after being reborn was to draw a clear line between myself and Shin Qinglan and delete the photo. But at this moment, Shin Qinglan was looking at me with a serious expression. "Sister Liang, give me your phone." I snorted and laughed, pretending not to hear. I turned my head. "Didn't you hear me? Bring the phone over." Seeing I didn't move, he frowned and sneered. I chose to ignore it again. "Right now, I really don't want to talk to this disgusting woman." "You still dare ignore me?" Shin Qinglan was clearly angered. He rushed over and thrust his hand into my desk hole. "What the hell are you doing?" Before I could stop her, Shin Qinglan pulled out a Nokia flip phone from the table. She then jogged back contentedly. Shin Qinglan returned to the group of girls. "Guess what Liang Jin and I saw after evening study yesterday?" All the girls were curious. Shin Qinglan glanced at Su Wanxin in the front row. "We saw Su Wanxin and an old man enter a hotel." "Seriously? No way, right?" The girls were shocked. "Keep your voices down." Shin Qinglan signaled everyone to quiet down, afraid of disturbing Su Wanxin. However, Su Wanxin kept her head down, flipping through the pages, seemingly unaware of the piercing gazes behind her. Her focus and aloof demeanor made Shin Qinglan grit her teeth in anger. "You don't believe me, but luckily I had Liang Jin take a photo." Shin Qinglan raised the Nokia in her hand and continued to exaggerate. "That old man was driving a speeding horse. TSK. Su Wanxin's family wasn't well off, and with such a shortage of money, the girls' expressions gradually became complicated. Some people acted unlucky, while others were starting to believe it a little. Why hasn't Liang Jin's broken phone turned on for so long? Shin Qinglan complained while struggling to press the power button. Suddenly, I snatched the Nokia from my hand with a fierce thrust. "Liang Jin, what are you doing?" Shin Qinglan shouted angrily. "Get lost!" I replied coldly, my gaze fixed on the phone in my hand. I know what will happen next if these girls see the photo. The memories of her previous life are still vivid. The rumors are like ticking time bombs, constantly fermenting and ultimately pushing Su Wanxin into the abyss. And this time, I absolutely cannot let her repeat the same as Liang Jin. "If you keep doing this, I won't pay attention to you again." Shin Qinglan's face flushed with anger. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. It was a familiar scene from before my rebirth, but now I found it utterly absurd. How did I end up being toyed with by such tactics when I was young? "What are you laughing at?" Shin Qinglan shouted angrily. "It's nothing. I don't plan to waste words on her." She turned and prepared to leave. After just a few steps, a girl's voice came from behind. "Liang Jin, you and Lan Lan." When I really saw Su Wanxin, I stopped, glanced back at the group of girls and sighed. Look, with only a few days left for the college entrance exam, not studying well, always thinking about trivial things. How can I be fair to my parents? That sentence was like a bucket of cold water, a live shrimp. The girls immediately dared not make a sound. Liang Jin and Shin Qinglan gritted their teeth. "Do you like Su Wanxin and defend her?" This question was loud, and the whole class cast strange looks at her. Su Wanxin finally raised her head. I glanced backward. In that instant, we locked eyes for a second. My heartbeat inexplicably skipped a line, and my eyes reddened. She suddenly burst into tears. I couldn't be bothered to pay her any more attention, so I returned to my seat, quickly opened my phone, found that photo, and pressed delete without hesitation. Although there was nothing wrong with the photo, I knew it. As long as this photo remains, it could once again become the fuse for disaster. After deleting the photo, my heart felt a bit more at ease, but I still couldn't understand why Su Wanxin in her previous life never explained the rumors. She could have clarified things with a single sentence but chose silence. After a while, I noticed a big white rabbit milk candy on the guest table. I don't know when it appeared. "Old Liang, you really tore things apart with Shin Qinglan." Wang Defa patted my shoulder excitedly while asking. He clearly didn't know what had just happened. He just felt pleased when he saw I hadn't treated Shin Qinglan kindly. I ignored his gossip and picked up the milk candy on the table. He asked, "You put it here?" "No, that's not it." Wang Defa shook his head. looking confused. Then forget it. I tossed the candy into the table hole without looking into it. Actually, I told you long ago you and Shinqinglan aren't suitable. We should have broken up long ago. The sooner you cut ties and the sooner you are freed. Wang Defa wore a look on his face. I'm doing this for your own good. Hearing this, I couldn't help but smile. In my previous life he had tried to persuade me too, but unfortunately, back then I was fooled and willingly became a sycophant only to be completely fooled. It's funny to think about. He was pretty good at reading people, but when it was his turn he was a complete mess. This guy's future love life will be even more rough than mine. What were you arguing about with Shinqinglan just now? How did you hear Su Wanxin's name? Wang Defa started gossiping again. Nothing much, I don't want to say more. He stuffed his Nokia phone into his pocket and decided not to talk about everything that had just happened. He had already helped Su Wanxin avoid something that could affect and change her life. It was also a way to make up for the mistakes of her previous life. As for whether she would develop severe depression from other matters in the future, that was not her concern. I didn't plan to interfere too much anymore. Ding-ling-ling, the morning self-study bell rang. The classroom gradually quieted down. The students returned to their seats and began morning reading. Amid the noisy noise, I sighed and simply leaned on my desk without calling out. The cool morning was silent. Suddenly, a gentle voice sounded in my ears. I looked up in a daze. I saw Su Wanxin standing at my desk, holding a dozen notebooks. What's wrong? I yawned and asked. She hadn't turned in her Chinese homework yet. Her tone was calm, carrying her usual indifference. What was the Chinese homework again? Classical Chinese translation. I'll look for it. I casually rummaged through my backpack but couldn't find any homework I had done. I hurried to find it. I'll come back to collect it later. Su Wanxin put the notebook she had collected on my desk and turned back to her seat. Old Liang, if you didn't write it, then you didn't. Stop pretending to look for it. Wang Defa chuckled softly. The joke is, are you supposed to copy homework? You didn't even realize it. I looked up at him and smiled helplessly. After all, I'm a billionaire boss. I actually have to copy homework? Forget it. Let's just relive our youth. Who in our class has the best Chinese grade? I asked Su Wanxin, right? Isn't it obvious? Wang Defa sized me up and down. You're really strange today, like a different person. I ignored him and started rummaging through the pile of notebooks for Su Wanxin's homework. Old Liang, I think Su Wanxin might like you. Wang Defa suddenly spoke up, his tone serious. Why would you have such a ridiculous idea? I chuckled and said, look, when he calls everyone else by their full name, he calls you Liangchen Meijing. Also, he doesn't let others copy homework but puts it on your desk. You call that liking? I couldn't help but laugh. Childish. Don't doubt it, Wang Defa patted his chest. When it comes to love, I'm your teacher. Alright, little chick, still a teacher? I shook my head and kept looking through my homework. Finally, I found the notebook with Su Wanxin's name written on it. When I opened it, I found that it wasn't a classical Chinese translation, but a novel. Flipping through the page, I saw a line of delicate small characters. Secret love means a person's chaos. The second period in the morning was Chinese class. As soon as homeroom teacher Guilin walked into the classroom, he smiled and looked at Su Wanxin by the window. Su Wanxin, you forgot to hand in your Chinese homework. This attitude of love immediately made Shinqinglan and the other girls feel indignant. If it were them, Guilin had already started scolding her head on. Su Wanxin frowned slightly and searched through the desk for a while. Sure enough, she found a notebook with a classical Chinese translation assignment. She hurried to the podium and handed it to the teacher. Sorry, it's nothing. Just be careful from now on. Guilinbai turned and tapped the blackboard. Alright, let's start class. Su Wanxin looked a bit restless after returning to her seat. She clearly remembered handing in her homework that morning. Why did she find another book in her backpack? Could it be? Her expression turned a bit unnatural. Her fingers swept over stacks of identical notebooks, and a vague sense of foreboding crept into her heart. This was a first-person secret crush novel. It tells the story of how I secretly fell in love with a man named JL during my youth. The campus scenes and memories mentioned in the novel even remained, which made me even more convinced that it might have been changed by her own experiences. But who is the secret crush JL in the novel? I suddenly remembered that the news before Rebirth mentioned that Su Wanxin did have a crush during high school, and that person's involvement directly led her into that devastating school bullying incident. This made me a bit curious. Who could become the campus beauty's secret crush? After class, I couldn't help but ask Wang Defa. Wang Defa, whose name in our class has the initials JL in pinyin. Wang Defa looked at me speechlessly. What's wrong with you today? You've asked several idiot questions. Cut the nonsense, hurry up and say JL. JL. He checked the names of the people in the brigade squad. There really was Zhang Lu. It was him. He pointed ahead. A spirited short-haired girl was hugging and playfully playing with another girl. I was stunned for a moment. Girl, obviously. Zhang Lu could still be a man. Wang Defa rolled his eyes. My mouth twitched, my mind racing. Could it be that, at the foot of Broback Mountain, lilies bloom? Shaking my head, I shook this ridiculous thought out of my mind. Who does Su Wanxin like? What sexual orientation does it have to do with me? I decided to give the monk notebook back to her. But before doing so, I inexplicably wrote a note and slipped it in, asking for an update. During lunch break, I took advantage of the crowd and quietly put the notebook back on her desk. During the afternoon break, Su Wanxin found the notebook she had found and had been found. When she opened it, she saw my note, and a faint red moonlight instantly stained her cheeks. She lowered her head and hurriedly stuffed the notebook into her backpack. I immediately got up and left the classroom, heading toward the academic affairs office. I also began to seriously consider my studies. In the last exam, although I got into a 211 university, it was far from outstanding. This time, my goal was originally Tsinghua or Peking University. Unfortunately, ideals are full but reality is harsh. After less than a day of study, I realized I couldn't understand anything. Tsinghua or Peking University. I helplessly joked about myself. Does not handing in blank papers count as success for the college entrance exam? The long recess before evening self-study. Shen Qinglan came to see me again. Liang Jing, I'm still not very good at this math problem. Explain it to me again. I don't know it. I replied impatiently. Didn't you explain it yesterday? How could I not do it? He muttered and said. My face was full of grievance. I didn't want to say anything. Stay away. I waved my hand, too lazy to bother with him anymore. At that moment, Su Wanxin suddenly walked over and softly said, Liang Shenmaijing, could you help me write a class book list? I was taken aback. Just started school, why write a class book? I'm transferring next week, and I might never see you again, she said softly, her tone calm, but it made my heart skip a beat. I'm transferring next week. Su Wanxin's voice wasn't loud, yet it was enough to instantly silence the whole class. The once noisy classroom instantly fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her, their faces full of surprise and disbelief. Wanxin, why are you suddenly transferring schools? Class monitor Wang Xiaoye couldn't help but ask. Although she and Su Wanxin weren't friends, because they were desk mates, she had always felt affection and admiration for this outstanding girl. Chun Chang answered briefly, Then can we write a class book? Leave your contact info so we can keep in touch often if we get the chance. Wang Xiaoye tentatively asked, Okay. Su Wanxin nodded slightly, her tone still calm. At that moment, Wang Defa noticed in his eyes that the classmate book Su Wanxin had just handed to Liang Jing was new. Obviously, she hadn't even reached anyone else's place. She actually came to find Liang Jing right away. Wang Defa excitedly leaned close to Shen Qinglan and whispered, Shen Qinglan, you say no one likes my brother except you, but I don't think so. As soon as she finished speaking, she asked Su Wanxin, Campus beauty, our class has so many people. Yet you asked old Liang to write the classmate list alone. Are you reluctant to part with her? Su Wanxin's expression was calm, clearly not intending to pay attention to Wang Defa's words. But the other students were sparked by this sentence, their imaginations running wild, whispering among themselves. That's right, why did Su Wanxin only ask Liang Jing to write the classmate record? Could it really be interesting that everyone wants to write it? Su Wanxin explained calmly, blocking all speculation. I have no intention of writing. Shen Qinglan said coldly, a trace of disdain on her face. She was already jealous and didn't get along with Su Wanxin, and she was even less willing to fake any contact information. I had no intention of asking you to write it. Su Wanxin replied calmly, but her tone was ruthless. Shen Qinglan snorted coldly in anger, turned around, and returned to her seat. Wang Defa was unwilling to give up and continued to ask, Campus beauty, do you really like old Liang? You're leaving anyway, so is it okay to talk? Su Wanxin remained silent, still looking down at her book. I shook my head helplessly, cursing Wang Defa for having such low emotional intelligence and no sense of boundaries. I nudged his chest with my elbow. All right, stop saying a few inappropriate things. Wang Defa leaned in close to my ear and whispered, Old Liang, you can't tell you're so obvious about liking him. Su Wanxin is about to leave. If you don't seize the opportunity, this village won't be this place anymore. I turned my head and looked at him as if I were an idiot. Su Wanxin returned to her seat, while I picked up my pen and began carefully filling out his classmate list. Wang Defa peeked out and couldn't help but sigh. Damn, old Liang. When did your handwriting get so good? I smiled without explaining. This is the result of practicing calligraphy after being reborn. When I started my business, to prevent my signature from leaking, I spent a lot of money practicing calligraphy for several months. QQ number. What was my QQ again? I had no choice but to take out my Nokia account, open my phone, check my account on QQ, and after searching for a while, finally found the number. Wang Defa frowned and looked at me, his tone full of doubt. Are you seriously Liang Jia? I ignored her and kept filling it out. In the end, it was still a parting message. I'm at a loss. What should I write? Wontons of poems, lyrics, or just a few random lines? I rejected all these ideas. I looked at the names of classmates on the road. Suddenly, I was inspired and wrote 6 characters with a big stroke. Wishing Wanxin to shine forever. Wang Defa glanced at it and immediately applauded. Damn. Brilliant. Your words are a name, a double entendre, both a blessing and a deeper meaning. Impressive. I chuckled. Alright, stop bragging. After Su Wanxin leaves, I'll nominate you as the new Chinese class representative. After evening self-study, the class book was handed around the classroom. Except for Shen Qinglan, everyone else carefully wrote their farewell messages to Su Wanxin. Many boys wanted to take this opportunity to confess, but when they opened the first page and saw my words, I suddenly felt at a loss for words and could only curse under my breath. That bastard lifted my window. When I left the classroom, I saw Su Wanxin holding a new class record in her hand. She was carrying her backpack and walking out of the school gate. My figure disappeared into the night, several blocks away. Suddenly, I noticed a black Mercedes-Benz F6 parked by the roadside. The body lines were elegant, understated yet luxurious. As a car enthusiast, I couldn't help but take a few more glances. M12 engine, keyless entry. This configuration as expected. The rich enjoy the world first. I walked and muttered to myself. At that moment, a familiar figure ran toward the Mercedes, just before getting in. She waved at me, a radiant smile on her face. I was stunned. It was Su Wanxin. The icy girl at school actually smiled at me. That smile looked especially bright under the streetlights, stirring an inexplicable emotion in my heart. The Mercedes slowly made its move. I stood where I was, thoughtfully watching the car leave. At this moment, inside the Mercedes, a middle-aged man in the driver's seat glanced at Su Wanxin through the rearview mirror and smiled, asking, "The transfer application should be submitted to the school." Su Wanxin nodded. "Submitted." The director said there are some procedures to go through, which will take about a week. "That's good." The man also nodded slightly. "Wanxin, can you agree to transfer?" Dad was so happy. The man said to himself, "You have no idea. To convince your mom, I spent so much effort and almost got my head smashed open by him using a flower pot. But since it involved your education, after much persuasion, he agreed. Dad has already arranged everything. You have your own place to live in Chunqing. Your Aunt Wu won't come to disturb you." Hearing this, Su Wanxin said, "Dad, I'll just live at school. I won't trouble you too much." The man sighed. He volunteered to study in a better provincial capital, but back then, he still had someone he was attached to and chose to refuse. But now, the person he was reluctant to have seemed to have fallen for another girl. Su Wanxin rubbed her eyes and took out her class book from her backpack. She turned to the first page, which was also the only page she wanted to see. She gazed at those beautiful, heartfelt farewell words and silently recited them, wishing Wanxin to shine forever. With her natural sensitivity to words, she wrote these brief 7 words. I read out more emotions. Recalling some things that happened this morning, the girl's feelings suddenly became complicated. "Dad, what's wrong? Can I not transfer schools?" By Yuyuan community. I wandered between the residential buildings for more than 10 minutes. I finally found the long-lost old apartment. Sure enough, under the flower pot in front of the door was a key. I used it to open the door. "Dad, Mom," I called out twice, but there was no response from inside. I walked into the room, and the familiar scene instantly plunged me into memories. On the wall is a poster of Yao Xiaoming from the Rockets team. In the corner, there's a basketball and a cheap rosewood guitar. All kinds of youthful memories flood in, and they're even more intense. On the morning of the 4th, the streets were shrouded in a hazy atmosphere. The occasional sound of bicycle bells and the footsteps of students added a touch of vitality to the city. 000, a burst of bells rang from behind, and I turned to look. Wang Defa sped over on his giant mountain bike, right in front of me. He did a tail drift and came to a steady stop. Cool, right? He proudly tilted his chin back, looking like a kid who just won a race. Ride slower. Be careful not to fail your show-off. I chuckled and replied, You're just jealous of my looks. He curled his lips, casually took a bag of sesame flatbreads from the handlebars, and handed them to me. No, yours. I took the sesame buns and walked side by side with him toward the school while gnawing. Why didn't I see you chatting in the QQ group last night? He asked. No time to look. I casually replied. Then you missed something important. I raised my eyebrows. What big deal? Isn't Su Wanxin about to transfer schools? Wang Xiaoya suggested, throwing him a farewell party. I replied faintly and kept biting into the flatbread. What's your reaction? You don't plan to join. Wang Defa looked at me curiously. Su Wanxin, do you know about your farewell party? Of course not. This is a surprise, so I have to keep it a secret. Let me ask you again. Does Su Wan usually fit in? Wang Defa was taken aback, thought for a moment, then said, she doesn't seem to fit in much. She basically doesn't participate in class activities, and even at the school sports meet, she only signs up for individual events. Then that's settled, I said with a smile and shaking my head. You guys are one-sidedly holding a farewell party for a withdrawn-minded person. Will he appreciate it? Don't get so moved that you feel completely unmoved inside. Just thinking about it makes me feel awkward. Wang Defa pricked his lips. Doesn't matter. I'm just here to join the fun. You're not planning to show off. Duansu is bringing a guitar to school and showing off at the farewell party. I frowned. Why should I show off? Su Wanxin likes you. He looks like an emperor less than a eunuch. Here we go again. I smiled helplessly. I'll be clear. Su Wanxin likes someone else. I don't know exactly who it is. I only know her name is JL. JL. Wang Defa was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes lit up. Old Liang. JL, on the other hand, LJ. Liang tightened up. I almost choked on Xiaobing. I glared at him. You really know how to make connections. Actually, I noticed this coincidence. But I know my limits. I won't make baseless associations with myself. If it really were me, I could just write this novel. That novel was secretly written by Su Wanxin, so I doubt she intended to share it with anyone else. So why bother going to such lengths to cover up the situation? Chatting casually along the way, the two arrived at school and began a new day of student life. Yesterday was a harsh challenge for me, who had just been reborn. Today was torture. In the blink of an eye, a day passed. Before evening self-study, the classroom was bustling with activity. Everyone was preparing for the farewell party. Although I had long suspected this event wouldn't be reliable, seeing the enthusiasm of the students, I didn't say much. Class monitor, what's the process for this farewell party? Wang Defa raised his hand and asked. Simple. Everyone sings a song for Wanxin and eats cake together. Wang Xiaoya replied. Hearing this, I secretly felt glad I hadn't agreed to attend. Just listening to it makes me feel bored. By the way, has anyone seen Duansu? Wang Xiaoya glanced around the classroom. As soon as she finished speaking, Duansu walked in with a pained expression. His right hand wrapped in a bandage. His expression exaggerated like a hero returning from the battlefield. Duansu, what's wrong with you? Wang Xiaoya hurried over. She had just sprained her hand while playing basketball. Duansu gritted her teeth and said, So what should we do? When everyone sings later, you need to play guitar and accompaniment. Wang Xiaoya asked anxiously. Duansu sighed. It's fine, I can hold on. After all, it's for Su Wanxin's sake. This little injury is nothing. I almost burst out laughing. This kid's acting is really clumsy. He really is a drama queen. Duansu, don't force yourself. Wang Defa suddenly said, then pulled me up. Old Liang can play guitar too. Let him do it. I glared at Wang Defa. You really set me a trap. Liang Jin, can you play guitar too? Wang Xiaoya's eyes lit up. My face was full of anticipation. I glanced helplessly at Wang Defa. If you don't join the fun, you'll die. You will. Old Liang has been self-studying for a while. Wang Defa answered first. Duansu's face darkened when he heard this, and he quickly said, Hey, that's not allowed. Self-taught instruments won't work. I've never seen you play Liang Jin before, so you probably don't trust your own skills. Don't get cocky. He turned to Wang Xiaoya, the class leader. Let me do it. Even though my hand is injured, I'm definitely stronger than Liang Jin. I sneered inwardly. Showing off is fine, but don't use me as a stepping stone. Today I'll show you. Pretending is a real hassle. Class leader, what song are you going to sing later? I asked. Decided to steal this kid's spotlight. Friendship lasts forever. Can you play it? Wang Xiaoya retorted. I nodded. Duansu chuckled foolishly. Do you know which chords they are? You dare say you can. I said calmly. It's just C key E fourth chord, E54. What the heck? Duansu was stunned. I smiled. Basic music theory knowledge, never studied it. A waste of tuition. Bro Duansu was instantly speechless. I couldn't keep my face down. Although he had picked up the class to learn guitar, He really hadn't studied music theory. Wang Xiaoya looked at me in surprise. Although he didn't understand these music theory terms, he clearly had confidence in my expertise. Oh no, no time left. Just be honest, you can accompany me. Duansu, sorry you got hurt at the wrong time. Wang Xiaoya pushed me on the back and led me out of the classroom. Seeing the spotlight steal, Duansu hurriedly untied the straps on my wrist. Class monitor, I'm actually not hurt. He was about to catch up, but Wang Defa grabbed him. Duan, if you're hurt, don't force yourself. You're a poetry supporting character. Don't steal the lead role. Duansu's face turned green, his face full of pain, barely showing any pain. Bifilu classroom. The classroom was already set up. On the podium was a two-tiered large cake. The blackboard was decorated with flowers and balloons, and a line of large characters was written, "Goodbye, Su Wanxin." Students who volunteered to attend the farewell party. We gathered early in the classroom, just as I expected. Mostly boys and girls chatting. Even more interestingly, many boys and even from other classes were clearly drawn by Su Wanxin's looks. I said with a smile. The chubby young man looked fierce. Wasn't Brother Duan injured? Wasn't he supposed to take the opportunity to confess? How did it end up like this? At that moment, a girl by the window called out, "The class monitor is bringing Wanxin over." The door opens, and Wang Xiaoya pushes Su Wanxin into the classroom. Bang bang. Two loud bangs rang out with the salute firecrackers, colorful slices flying everywhere. I followed Wang Xiaoya's instructions, plucked the strings, and the accompaniment played. The students started singing along with the guitar. Su Wanxin was a bit confused at first, but when she saw the words on the blackboard, she instantly understood. Her gaze gradually fell on me. I could feel a trace of complex emotion in her gaze. Although I kept a calm surface on the surface, inside I was already so embarrassed my toes were cracking. Who arranged this farewell party? Fired salutes, why not play the Swana horn? Beep as they left? And this song, "Friendship Lasts Forever." Everyone present, who has friendship with Su Wanxin? The awkward chorus finally ended. I put down my guitar and was about to slip away. At that moment, Wang Xiaoya held a beautiful gift and handed it to Su Wanxin. "Wanxin, this is for you. I hope you have a happy time at your new school." Behind her stood several boys lining up to give gifts. Clearly, they were all simps trying to leave a good impression on Su Wanxin. Su Wanxin bowed slightly, finally showing some change in expression as she softly said, "Thank you all for your kindness, but I won't be transferring." As soon as he finished speaking, the classroom fell silent, and the awkward atmosphere instantly rose. Laughing, "Comrade, aren't you just deceiving everyone's feelings? I almost cried just now," Wang Defa shouted, pushing the scene to the limit. I shook my head in submission. "Wang Defa, are you saying the situation isn't awkward enough?" I stopped, turned around, walked back to the podium, kissed my throat and said loudly, "Is everyone mistaken? You all came voluntarily. You can't say Su Wanxin deceived everyone, right?" The classroom fell silent for a few seconds. Then someone nodded in agreement. That's how it is, and since everyone was willing to attend the farewell party, it meant they couldn't bear to see her leave. If she doesn't leave now, wouldn't that be a happy event? Hearing this, the students all nodded, especially the boys. It seemed as if hope was reignited in their eyes. I continued, "But Su Wanxin also has some issues. Just yesterday you said you wanted to transfer, but today you changed your mind and kept it from everyone. This shows a sign of disloyalty and discord with the class." After saying that, I turned to look at Su Wanxin. "So, I'm punishing you to help everyone for a week. So how is it?" Su Wanxin straightened up slightly, then nodded. "No problem, it's settled. I'll clap my hands. Everyone, let's disperse. Go home, find your mom." "Wait," Wang Xiaoya hurried up to the podium. She stopped everyone, saying it would be a waste not to eat the cake. And since it's rare for everyone to gather, why don't we change the topic? As she spoke, she wiped away the farewell words from the blackboard and wrote 5 big characters again. Dream sharing session. We're all senior year of high school, and the college entrance exam is coming soon. Let's take this opportunity to eat cake together and share our dreams. How about this? Come on, let's cut the cake. The students all responded, but I quietly turned and prepared to leave. Just as I turned around, I noticed Su Wanxin had somehow stood behind me. We almost bumped into each other. Her face was very close to mine, and that delicate face stunned me for a moment. Her skin was unbelievably good, so tender it seemed like it could drip water. Not just thanking her, before she could finish speaking, Wang Xiaoya's voice came from behind. "Sister Liang Wanxin, come get the cake." I waved my hand. "You two chat. I have things to do. Let's go first." Wang Defa suddenly jumped out from the crowd. He grabbed my shoulder. Old Liang, you can read books anytime. Events with jokes are rare and hard to come by. I have no dreams, I don't want to join. I smiled and refused. If you don't have dreams, just listen to others. Wang De spoke up, pulling hard. He dragged me back to the classroom. Inside, the students sat in a circle on the floor. Wang Defa pulled me over to Duan Su. Duan Su moved aside to feel him. Duan Su gritted his teeth. What are you listening to? The side is so wide. If I tell you to move, then move it, Wang Defa said impatiently. Duan Su's little sidekick, the chubby guy, immediately jumped out. Wang Defa, what do you mean? Wang Defa glared at him. What's wrong? You're not convinced. I quickly patted Wang Defa on the shoulder. Alright, sitting anywhere is not a seat. You damn it. After all these years, your dog temper hasn't changed at all. Saying that, I sat down on the open space next to Duan Su. As soon as I sat down, I understood why Duan Su didn't want to move seats. His seat was right facing Su Wanxin. Young people are really interesting, they even fight for seats. Old Liang, why are you compromising? Wang Defa sat down next to me and whispered, Look, after he switched seats, he's now facing you. Alright. He has charming eyes, looking at how affectionate the dog is. I smile and shake my head. After handing out the cake, Wang Xiaoya takes out a pen and says, Let's play a little game. I spin the pen, sharing dreams with the person I am pointing to. The person facing the pen can ask them a truthful question. This is fun and exciting. The students all tease. I also think it's more interesting than simply sharing dreams. Alright, I'll begin. Wang Xiaoya squats down and twists the pen vigorously. Everyone held their breath, staring at the rapidly spinning pen. The pen slowly stopped. The tip pointed at Su Wanxin, and the tip pointed at me. As the pen slowly stopped, the tip pointed at Su Wanxin, and the tip pointed at me. A round of jeers erupted, and people were pounding their chests and stomping their feet on the side, their faces full of unwillingness. I helplessly rubbed my forehead, thinking, this melodrama really isn't lacking at all. Alright, Wanxin, you go first. Tell us what dreams you have. Wang Xiaoya smiled brightly. Su Wanxin answered without hesitation, I want to be a writer. This answer was expected by everyone, and it was not surprising. Su Wanxin excelled in Chinese. Honors in various true essay competitions seemed to be the profession of writer born to her. And I know very well that Su Wanxin's dream is not just an idea, but a path destined to come true. Wishing you an early realization. Wang Xiaoya smiled and turned to me. Then Liang Jing, what about you? I smiled slightly and said lightly, Go to the dock and get some fries. What the heck? The students burst into laughter. Alright, let's be serious. I went from being a director to be a rich person. Suddenly, a burst of cheers rang out. I smiled and said, Is there a problem with this dream? So simple, so pure. Wang Xiaoya chuckled softly, of course it's fine. From now on, I'll become a big boss in Liang. Don't forget, we old classmates. Hearing this, I suddenly felt a bit dazed. Judging by this amusing story, the life paths of Su Wanxin and me wouldn't differ much from our previous lives. Could it be everyone's fate? It's been certain since birth. Even if I were reborn, it wouldn't change. Next step, you can ask Wanxin some truthful questions. Wang Xiaoya interrupted my philosophical thinking, and the crowd started inexplicably jeering again. Wang Defa nudged me with his elbow and said sharply, Old Liang, ask something explosive. Just ask him who the JL he likes is. Naturally, I was curious too. Who exactly is the JL Su Wanxin wrote about in the novel? But I know very well that although it's called a truth game, most people lie when they encounter trouble. Even if I ask, I might not get the real answer. I couldn't be bothered to think further, so I casually asked, Since you want to be a writer, so have you submitted to a publisher or online platform yet? I gently shake my head. Why not submit? I asked again, I'm worried it won't pass. Submit first and then talk. If it passes, that's best. But if you keep submitting to another company, there's nothing wrong with that. Why not try? Yes, it might not succeed. But no, it definitely won't work. I was clearly offering life advice to young people from an older generation's perspective. Su Wanxin pursed her lips and said, I'll give it a try. Seeing the two of us start chatting, she said intermittently, dissatisfied. Class monitor, isn't this against the rules? We agreed to only ask one question. Both Wells asked 2 questions. Joke. Say one more word to me. He feels like his heart has been cut with a knife. Shut your mouth. Wang Defa slapped his knee and tried to stand up. Alright, let's continue the game. Wang Xiaoya quickly smoothed things over, spinning the exploration pen again. Next pair is lucky, but it's Wang Defa, and the short-haired, attentive girl opposite Jiang Lu, my dream, scientist. Wang Defa held his head high and chest out. Couldn't hold back at all. I knew all too well what this thing would be going to do. Wang Go, who majored in civil engineering in college, graduated and worked on a construction site, eventually becoming the top star of West Corner City. The most frequently spoken phrase. Love arises in the middle, but when stopped, the feeling is hard to settle. Scientist, peace scholar. Jiang Lu, sitting opposite Wang Defa, really is a real man. The truth segment immediately starts with explosive questions. Wang Defa, you've seen a patch of mold. Wang Defa is rational and strong, of course I've seen it. All the guys present laughed meaningfully. Wang Defa looked around at everyone. Laughing, you guys haven't seen it. Don't play dumb. Be careful, I'll chop them one by one. As the game progressed, everyone's questions grew more explicit and more private. It was obvious that Su Wanxin acted indifferent. It wasn't that she couldn't stand those vulgar words. After all, in order to study literature, she had read Jean Ping Mei and even read everything. It was purely because she couldn't adapt to being alone in such a noisy social environment. At this point, as a diligent student, I suggested, class monitor, you've said everything you need to say. How about it end? It's almost time for evening self-study. Su Wanxin's sparkling peach blossom eyes immediately cast a grateful look at me. Wang Defa noticed her gaze and thought to himself, this is just too affectionate. Old Liang, you bastard, you've got plenty of luck with women. Wang Xiaoye glanced at her watch, and she smiled. What a coincidence. The game starts with you and ends with you. Wanxin, this time it's your turn to ask Liang Jing a question. Su Wanxin was silent for a long time. Everyone was eagerly awaiting what kind of questions she would ask me. After all, everyone could feel that Suda's joke was treating me with an unusual attitude. Liangchang's scenery. Do you have a university you want to apply to? Su Wanxin asked softly. Everyone felt disappointed, as it seemed others were playing the adult version of this game. Su Wanxin and I played the children's harmonious version. I thought about it and went back to the university I wanted to apply to. I hadn't decided yet. The target city was actually somewhere. Su Wanxin pressed for a question. Magic City. Su Wanxin nodded slightly. I kept this message in mind. The game ended. Everyone returned to the classroom, and Xin Qinglan, sitting in the corner, looked at me and Su Wanxin side by side with a complicated gaze. The second half of evening self-study was the start of student self-study. There were still teachers in the first half. Today, as usual, I didn't attend classes but studied on my own. After all, other students had already started the first round of review before the college entrance exam, while I was still in the preview phase, spending an entire class period. I finally figured out what Mendel and Wando were all about. They're back. I felt my mind come back. I was overjoyed. I glanced at the college entrance exam countdown on the blackboard. 275 days left. As long as I make a plan, studying step by step, this amount of time was enough to relearn high school knowledge. Thinking this, even as I was planning to submit blank papers for the college entrance exam, I seemed to see the admission letter from Qingbei beckoning me again. Wang Xiaoye organized her classmates to move the desk. Evening self-study had just ended. Homeroom teacher Guilin came to the classroom. I looked at my deskmate Wang Defa in confusion. Why move the desk? Your idiotic problem is coming again. Wang Defa was helpless but patiently explained. Tomorrow's monthly exam. The classroom is going to be an exam room, so of course the extra desks have to be moved. Just moments ago, I was daydreaming about the Qingbei admission notice, but my eyes lit up with a smile. Leaving my teacher position pure means death first. No doubt, this monthly exam I'm going to lead the big head. The next morning, the first monthly exam at Nanjiang No. 1 High School began. I casually wandered into the exam room. As soon as I sat down, I saw Duan Su on my right, winking and making faces, wearing a flattering smile. When I turned around, I saw Xin Qinglan behind me staring at me as well. There was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Liang Jing. Then, Duan Su tossed over a bottle of iced cola, grinning with a greedy face. Good brother, don't cover too far when playing cards. Yeah, I raised my eyebrows, shook the cola in my hand, and smiled. Young Master Duan, just take this test form. This is the only thing you can buy at school. Duan Su scratched his head and added, I'll treat you to dinner later. Alright, before I could say anything, Xin Qinglan from behind also came over. There was a hint of coquettishness in her voice. Liang Jing, can you help me too? I turned to look at him, a smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Getting something for nothing. Huh? At least there's still half a bottle of cola here. Xin Qinglan pretended to excuse me. After the exam, I'll give you a big surprise. I chuckled, then changed my expression at lightning speed, putting on a stern face and saying, I'm not interested. Xin Qinglan slammed the table in frustration. Looks like I really have to use that trick. Otherwise, I wouldn't even listen to him. Good brother? I'm counting on you. Could you please help me? Duan-su put his hands together and kept pleading. I frowned and said, no. Does cheating on the monthly exam really help with a good score? The college entrance exam can add points. Duan-su laughed. You may not know, but my mom will reclassify students based on the results of this monthly exam. Now I understand. Both of them want to use their results to change their positions. Duan-su wants to get a higher score. The closer the position I switched to was to Su Wanxin. Shin Qinglan wanted to get rid of the last row with the trash can. Are you sure you want to copy me? I grinned mischievously. Duan Shuming nodded adorably. Absolutely, you have to pick one. I dare to copy. I prick my mouth. The younger generation is formidable, so I'll do it for convenience. Soon, the proctor arrived at the exam room. The exam began. I skimmed through the paper. Good. Just as I expected. There were hardly any questions I could answer. So I started to let loose. If I wanted to do it, I could do it. And I kept my promise before the exam. I generously placed my answer sheet outside. Duan-su glanced at it and quickly filled in my answers. But I had just copied the first question. Duan-su noticed something was off. I chose C, which is clearly the wrong answer. He's playing me. Duan-su's heart tightened. But he randomly shook his head. Impossible. He's a top student, so I must be wrong. So, he continued to copy the answers with a clear conscience, while Shin Qinglan also thought my answers were a bit absurd. But in the end, he chose to believe me. I knew nothing about this and had already let myself go. His essay was even more absurd. The first half is the lyrics in the opposite direction, and the second half suddenly jumps to 10 years. By the end, I even feel a bit sorry for teacher Yuan. After the exam, I was the first to hand in my paper and leave, strolling through the campus. I thought about my future study plans and the family's financial situation. I arrived at the artificial lakeside, picked up some stones, and started throwing them away. Not far away, I heard crisp footsteps. I turned around. It's fine, nothing will affect me. Su Wanxin said calmly. The two sat in silence. One wasting money, the other flipping through textbooks. The ginkgo leaves by the lake rustled in the breeze. Time seemed to stand still. The cool morning scenery suddenly speaks. I turned to look at her. Last night, I thought about what you said, so I decided to try submitting to a magazine. I chuckled softly. That's good. If I earn some manuscript fees in the future, you'll have to treat me to a meal. Su Wanxin nodded gently. She lowered her head to read, and I kept wasting the papers. The review was just her lie. She chose to stir up the exam papers early because she saw me leave the exam room, just so she could have a rare time alone with me, even if we said nothing. It's not so bad. The ripples on the lake no longer ripple. The wind in my ears and the continued words disappear. Time seems to stop flowing at this moment. As the sun sets, the monthly exams are over. Nanjiang No. 1 High School has finally recovered. The usual relaxed atmosphere and the tense atmosphere of the exam hall were replaced by the students' laughter and cheers. Meanwhile, I walked out of the exam room with a relaxed expression. Old Liang went to the internet cafe to have fun, while Wang Defa packed his backpack. I greeted him excitedly. I wanted to refuse, but then I remembered I needed to look up some information about the travel photography industry, so I nodded. Sure. But I didn't bring my ID card. Wang De smiled and squinted. Let's go online. Using my ID card. I forgot it was 2008. I casually started filming. The two were about to set off when a cold, clear voice came from behind. Cool and beautiful scenery. Wait a moment. I turned around and saw Su Wanxin standing at the classroom door. Hesitating, she walked over. I have something to ask. Su Wanxin lowered her head and softly said, I want to go to the internet cafe too. Can you take me along? I really can't connect the words Su Wanxin with the internet cafe. This is a joke about a top student. It's always been synonymous with elegance and honor. No matter how you look at it, you don't seem like someone who would set foot in a smoky and chaotic place like an internet cafe. Why do you go to an internet cafe? Couldn't help but ask. Submission. Su Wanxin pursed her lips, looking serious. Don't you have a computer at home? No, she gently shook her head. I furrowed my eyebrows. Back in 2008, home computer penetration was indeed low. But Su Wanxin, who was just a butterfly runner after school, how could she not even have a computer? This made me question her family background even more. All right then, follow us, I said. Su Wanxin's hands were sweating slightly. Thank you. The three of us made it all the way to the Yuan Sky Internet Cafe. Wang Defa excitedly opened the track and shouted to the network manager. Pai-ho, activate 3 machines. Let's stay by the window. Pai-ho looked up and saw Su Wanxin, his eyes lit up. He asked in a low voice, Brother Fa, who is this beauty? Wang Defa gently nudged her head and chuckled softly. Don't look around. It's sister-in-law. I heard that, rolled my eyes at her, and told her to get lost. Su Wanxin was clearly not used to the internet cafe environment, her eyes twitching a few times. I glanced at her and reminded her, that's just how internet cafes are. If you can't stand it, don't force yourself. It's fine, Su Wanxin said calmly. After the three sat down, Wang Defa excitedly recommended a new game to me. Old Liang, this game is super fun. It's called Dungeon and Fighter. Go ahead and play. I'll take you flying. I smiled. Go ahead and play. I still have things to do. I turned to look at Su Wanxin, who had already opened her QQ email and was ready to submit to the publisher. She took a notebook out of her backpack and put together the short story she had written earlier. She typed each word into the body of the email, but the way she typed made me laugh out loud. She was holding out her index finger, tapping key by key, just like a chick catching a mosquito. Sister, with your typing speed, you can't protect your household registration book if you play games. I teased. Su Wanxin was stunned for a moment, looked up at me, her cheeks slightly flushed. She hadn't typed much before. How about this? I'll help you type. 5 yuan per 1,000 characters. Conscience held firm. I smiled. Su Wanxin lowered her head and whispered, I don't have that much pocket money. I smiled calmly. Forget it, I won't tease you. Let me teach you how to type. As I spoke, I moved the keyboard to demonstrate. There are 2 protrusions on the F and SAW keys. Place the left index finger on the F key, the right index finger on the SAW key, and naturally spread the 5 fingers of both hands. This makes it easier to find the key position. Su Wanxin looked down at the keyboard for a long time and quietly asked, Where's the SAW key? I sighed helplessly. He grabbed her wrist and gently moved it, helping her find the key. When I held her slender, fair wrists, Su Wanxin froze. Her ears instantly flushed red. She whispered, Thank you. Wang Defa noticed this. She took off her headphones and sneaked a glance, cursing inwardly. She usually acts so serious, but last time she was faster than anyone. You 2 dogs, you're shameless. With my hands-on guidance, Su Wanxin finally found the feeling of typing. Although her speed was still astonishingly slow, compared to her previous little tricks, she had made significant progress. Not bad, she learned quickly. I glanced at her screen and nodded, saying, Thank you. Su Wanxin lowered her head and continued typing. Her ears were slightly red. I smiled and didn't disturb her further, then turned and opened another webpage. Wang Defa poked his head over to take a look, frowning and asking, Old Liang, why do you go to a site like this? Looking up information. While typing keywords, I casually replied, I typed aluminum pie into the search bar, and the result showed 0. This made me pause for a moment. Aluminum pie. What is this? Wang Defa asked curiously. Tourist photography. I explained, for example, if you go to a scenic spot and someone pays you to take photos, that's basically the idea. But my family plans to upgrade it into a full suit. That sounds pretty complicated. Wang Defa scratched his head. That would probably cost quite a bit. That's right. I leaned back in my chair and sighed. Money is everywhere. As I spoke, I turned my head casually and found that Su Wanxin had already stopped typing. Her peach blossom eyes were staring straight at me, wondering why I was staring. Hurry up and type. I hadn't mentioned Liang Shenmaijing. Are you short on money? Su Wanxin asked softly. I was momentarily stunned, then smiled and said, No worries about food or drink, but starting a business requires startup capital. Su Wanxin lowered her head. I kept typing. I peeked at her screen and saw she had only typed a little over 200 words. Couldn't help but sigh. At this speed, how long would it take to finish typing? How about this? You buy me a pack of cigarettes and I'll type the rest for you. I went to pour it. Su Wanxin looked up, a bit surprised. Yes, it's just 5 or 6 yuan per pack. Pretty cheap, I said with a smile. I didn't want to. Su Wanxin replied softly and continued typing with difficulty. Wang Defa, standing nearby, witnessed the scene and silently complained to himself. Foolish old lady, I don't want you to smoke. Can't you tell? Just as the atmosphere was quiet, a pack of soft purple cigarettes suddenly popped onto the table in front of me. I looked up and saw it was Shin Qinglan. He won't buy it for you, but I can't bear to spend it. Shin Qinglan looked up and said. I frowned. Why are you here? Didn't I say? After the exam, I'll give you a surprise. I can't find you at school. I'm coming here, Shin Qinglan said. I sneered. What a surprise. I'm not interested. Get lost, don't get in the way here. Go ahead. I'll just toss the pack of cigarettes back. Shin Qinglan bit her lip, looking at me and Su Wanxin, who was sitting beside me. Her eyes were full of resentment and anger. Liang Jing, you've changed. Shin Qinglan's voice trembled, as if she was gasping for breath. Can you come out with me? I have something to tell you. I'll put on my headphones. I opened the music app and played a song called Don't Bother Me. Amid the music, I ignored Shin Qinglan's performance. Shin Qinglan was stunned, and her tears instantly stopped. Seeing that this trick didn't work, he gritted his teeth and rushed to my seat. I grabbed my backpack and ran out of the internet cafe. I sighed helplessly, got up, and chased after her. Crazy. I shook my head, thinking I had to make things clear so he wouldn't keep pestering me. Su Wanxin watched my departing figure. She pouted slightly, a hint of dissatisfaction in her eyes. Wang Defa noticed this and gave a dark smile. Laughing at the comrade, she got jealous. Su Wanxin suddenly turned around, her cheeks slightly flushed. No, she was back to her high school days. Once again, faced with two major jokes, I just tossed Shin Xiaohua 250, then pulled up my shorts and chased after Su Xiaohua. Not because of her slim waist, long legs, or 360 bottom, but because in my previous life the silly bull secretly liked me for life. Not only did she confess to me publicly at the graduation party, she even sold her family property to raise funds for me. But in my previous life as a simp, I deliberately took photos of her holding hands with an older man to please Shin Qinglan, which indirectly triggered the situation. That collective bullying, and what she found hardest to accept most was that the boy she had secretly loved for years was actually the real culprit. Although she fled the rumors after transferring schools, this incident became the root of her depression. The last line of the suicide note read, "The gun that killed me was detained in single-player mode many years ago. Out of guilt, the first thing I did after being reborn was to draw a clear line between myself and Shin Qinglan, then delete the photo." Su Wanxin watched my departing figure and pouted slightly. A trace of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. Wang Defa noticed it and gave a dark smile. Laughing at comrades, he was jealous. Su Wanxin suddenly turned her head, her cheeks slightly flushed. No, at that moment, in the alley outside the internet cafe, Shin Qinglan was swinging my backpack. Smiling proudly, "Sister Liang, you still came out. My backpack is with me. Come get it." I shook my head. "Shin Qinglan, you're bored at all." He slowly approached, his tone probing. "Now you're bored. Weren't you quite fond of me before?" He even said he wanted to get into the same university as me and get married after graduation. I felt awkward hearing that. After being reborn, what I most wanted to delete were those foolish memories from my youth. I said coldly, "Don't mention those useless things. I'm really annoyed with you right now. Please stop pestering me." Shin Qinglan stood in front of me, tossed her hair, and deliberately softened her voice. "Sister Liang, aren't I pretty?" I swallowed. I've seen plenty of her deliberately pretending ambiguous behaviors, the ones that truly make me feel clean and special. On the contrary, it was Su Wanxin, a girl who didn't recognize beauty. Shin Qinglan continued, "I admit, I didn't care about you that much before, but now I realize I think I've fallen for you. You're good to me and I don't want to miss out again. Sister Liang, be my boyfriend." I rolled my eyes. Some people are like this. When you treat her sincerely, she looks down on them. When you ignore her, she comes up to me again. Stop disgusting me. I'm saying things like this and you still don't understand. Shin Qinglan's expression changed slightly. She bit her lip, suddenly tapped her 7-pointed finger, and tried to kiss my face. I raised my hand to block it, but my palm landed right on her lips. "You can use your hand, but why use your mouth?" Shin Qinglan was stunned. That slap didn't hurt, but it's embarrassing enough, ha ha ha. "Old Liang, well done." Wang Defa's loud laughter came from upstairs. I looked up and saw Wang Go and Su Wanxin standing by the window. I clearly saw everything that had just happened. Shin Qinglan immediately blushed from pride. Her eyes reddened. "Sister Liang, you've gone too far." I wiped the lipstick mark from my palm. Faint. There was something even worse. "Do you want to try?" She threw her backpack at me and shouted angrily, "Liang, just you wait." After saying that, Shin Qinglan stormed off. I picked up my backpack and returned to the internet cafe. Wang Defa was still laughing. "Old Liang." That moment was so satisfying. I glanced at her. "Stop laughing, play your game." Su Wanxin softly asked me, "Liang Chinmajia, do you treat girls you don't like this?" I was a bit surprised and replied casually, "It depends on the person. I treat normal people normally. Shin Qinglan isn't normal. So why should I treat her kindly?" Su Wanxin nodded. I understood. I told her to get up. "I'll help you type, finish early, and go home early." I could have left first, but I wasn't comfortable leaving her alone in the internet cafe. This place is full of all kinds of people. If something really happens, I feel bad about it. After changing seats, I started writing scripts for her. Su Wanxin looked for a while, then got up and went to the bar. She asked the network manager if they had cigarettes for sale. Pai Ho immediately sat up straight and took out several types of cigarettes for her to choose from. Su Wanxin counted the change in her book pocket. only 12 yuan. She saw the soft goods Shin Qinglan had just bought. I asked about the price again and finally chose the 11 yuan Rui. She returned to the camera and gently placed the cigarette in front of me. I was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, I was just joking with you. You actually bought it. Su Wanxin calmly said, Give me a peach. I reasoned with her. I grinned. A cultured person just can't understand what they say. Wang Defa gave a meaningful smile beside her. I kept typing on the keyboard and also read her novel called Guei, about a girl suffering from a terminal illness, going to the northwest wilderness to complete a hospital. The story is very sad, with a sense of oppression between the lines. I can't help but wonder what Su Wanxin went through to write something like this. At the end, the little girl lies on the grassland. Passing away quietly in the wind, Su Wanxin wrote, When a person dies, it's like the wind disappearing into the wind. I raised an eyebrow. You're borrowing Borges's lines, aren't you? The original line seems to say, When a person dies, it's like water disappearing into the water. A flash of surprise crossed Su Wanxin's eyes. I already know Borges. I've read her poetry collection, and that's true. In the past, I did do my homework to pursue a literary young woman. She asked again, Do you like her poetry? Not bad. I really like a few poems. After finishing the manuscript, I stood up to make room for myself to check. If there's no problem, submit my submission. Wishing you success on the road. Su Wanxin smiled slightly. Okay, thank you. I picked up the soft Rui stool on the table and was about to go to the bar to buy a lighter. Just as I walked to the bar, I saw a crowd surging up the stairs outside, carrying steel pipes and throwing sticks. Leading them was a muscular man urinating. As soon as he entered, he raised the steel pipe. Lu Hodao. Who the hell is Liang Jin? The muscular man's shouts exploded in the internet cafe. The people online were startled and whispered among themselves. This is for revenge. Don't fight in the internet cafe. I don't want to get hurt by accident. Wang Defa immediately got up from his seat and ran toward me. At first, I was a bit confused. It wasn't until I saw Shin Qinglan standing at the stairwell that I understood what was going on. It turned out she was here to pay him. 7 or 8 men carrying steel pipes and throwing sticks walked into the internet cafe. Shin Qinglan and a young man in a suit followed behind. Shin Qinglan immediately spotted me. He immediately pointed at me and shouted, Cousin, it's him. The young man in the suit rolled up his sleeves, revealing his tattooed arms. He took the baton from his subordinate and sneered as he walked toward me. Kid, I heard you bullied my cousin. I looked at him, so he was stunned for a moment. Obviously, he didn't expect me to be afraid at all. He raised his club and gritted his teeth, saying, So I have to show you some blood. Wang Defa grabbed a folded shadow and charged in front of me. I'm gonna fight you all. The network admin Pai Ho quickly ran out from the bar, blocking the middle, and then lowered his voice to the young man in the suit. Shingo, don't be mad. If you're a man, come out. I'll wait for you downstairs. If you don't come down for a minute, don't blame me for being rude. After saying that, he led his people downstairs. I couldn't help but laugh. You've seen plenty of these people as gangsters, but I can tell Tu Shinhui doesn't dare to make a move in an internet cafe. It shows he doesn't know how to handle things properly. People like that are actually easier to deal with. Wang Defa asked, Where did this damn guy come from? Pai Ho was so anxious he jumped up. His name is Shun Hui, the manager at Jingxin KTV. I raised an eyebrow. These days it's a KTV disco. Bars are a mix of all kinds and often have fights and disturbances. Many venues hire people to keep watch. Shun Hui is probably that kind of person. Wang Defa took out his phone. Old Liang, don't panic. I'll call for help. I laughed and said, He's half a regular army. Don't shout at your wild deer brothers. Pai Ho added, Why don't you climb down the window? There's air conditioning outside and you can jump in. I glanced at Su Wanxin. Her face was a bit pale, clearly scared. I said, I can dance with Wang Go. What about her? I'm worried Shin Qinglan will take it out on Su Wanxin. Wang Go, how many can you fight? I asked. Wang Defa clenched his fist. 3, right? That's the best. I gave a thumbs up. That's awesome. Then you do your best. Farewell. After saying that, I walked toward the window. Wang Defa's eyes widened. Old Liang, you coward. Of course, I didn't plan to run away. I took a Nokia out of my backpack, sat down in front of the computer, and checked my number. Su Wanxin walked over to me and said worriedly, Liang Chun is fine. Let's call the police. I smiled. No need for now. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. Calling the police is definitely an option, but we still need to take a statement later. Troublesome. Since Shun Hui is from Jinxing KTV, then there's an even simpler way to handle it. I'll make a call. Hello, this is the front desk of Jinxing Group. If I need any help, please help me find your chairman, Lu Dongyang. May I ask? I am Nurse Lu's cousin. Please tell Chairman Lu. I ran into some trouble. The person causing trouble was Shun Hui, the manager of Jinxing KTV. Before I hung up, the muscular guy who urinated returned to the internet cafe. The guy surnamed Liang was scared and didn't dare to go down. Su Wanxin immediately grabbed my arm. This is the provocation group. Don't go out. I laughed. Even if I don't go out, they'll come in. I handed him my phone half-jokingly, saying, if the problem isn't resolved within 5 minutes, call the police or call 120. After saying that, I walked out of the internet cafe. Wang Defa followed behind me, looking like he wanted to live and die with me. Downstairs, Shun Hui saw me and raised an eyebrow. All right, kid. He thought you wouldn't dare come out. He's watching the karaoke event, usually when troublemakers run into it. Usually, a little scare would be enough. But my calm demeanor surprised him a bit. Shun Hui twisted his neck. I'm not bullying kids. You slapped my cousin, and you'll make him pay back tenfold. This is the next chapter. I chuckled. Do you think that's possible? The muscular man shouted angrily, refusing a toast but accepting a penalty drink. Shin Hui's face darkened as well. He brought people mainly to have Shin Qinglan hold up the scene and act like a big brother a bit. He wasn't really trying to cause a bloody incident, but he wouldn't bow his head. He was stopped. Kid, you've never been hit before, have you? The stick landing on you is tough. Shin Hui threatened him. I smiled faintly. If you have 100 times the courage, you wouldn't dare to make a move. Call Lu Dongyang now and ask who I am. Shun Hui's expression changed. He clearly hadn't expected to mention Lu Dongyang's name. Lu Dongyang is the chairman of Nanjiang Jinxing Group, and Jinxing KTV is just part of his business. Shun Hui, a junior supervisor, is several floors away from Lu Dongyang. In my previous life, at a dinner at the Nanjiang Investment Promotion Conference, I met Lu Dongyang. Back then, when he toasted me, he had to lower his hair by half a bit. Now, it's different. I'm being threatened by his men, acting like a tiger as fierce as a sheep. Shin Qinglan hurriedly shouted. Cousin, don't listen to his bragging. His family runs a travel agency, nothing special. Shin Hui laughed after hearing this. You almost fooled me. Are you treating me like a monkey? He grabbed his baton and took 2 steps forward. Wang Defa immediately clenched his fist. Standing next to me, I stood still. The more this happened, the more hesitant Shin Hui became. He dared to scare people, but that didn't mean he really dared to act recklessly. Even the internet cafe owner was wary of him, let alone the chairman of Jinxing Group. Ding-ling-ling. Just then, Shun Hui's phone rang. He glanced at the caller, his expression changing slightly. He answered, Hello, President Zhang. What do you want from me? On the other end, angry curses came from the other end. Damn it. Who the hell did you mess with? Shun Hui panicked. President Zhang, I didn't do anything, nothing much. The former president just called me and asked me to warn you, to behave properly. On the phone, Shun Hui was harshly scolded by the KTV General Manager Zhang. Only then did he figure out the former president of Jinxing Entertainment. After receiving a call from the chairman's secretary, he passed the pressure to Mr. Zhang at the KTV, specifically telling him to keep a line around a man named Shun Hui. Shun Hui was acting recklessly. He was just here to cause trouble for a high school student. So how did he end up causing trouble for the chairman of the group? After hanging up, Shin Hui nervously looked at me. He finally understood. I wasn't bragging just now. He swallowed, threw the baton in his hand to the ground, forced a smile, and walked toward me in the internet cafe on the 2nd floor. Everyone crowded the window to watch the commotion. Su Wanxin had just finished her call and started reading down. She saw Shun Hui approaching Liang Jing and thought he was about to make a move, which made her panic. She had already asked her father for help, but now the situation was urgent. There was no time to call the police. Su Wanxin ignored Liang Jing's earlier warning and hurried downstairs. She was unable to confront those social folks and only thought that if something really happened, at least she could stand in front of Liang Jing. But when she ran downstairs, what I saw was a completely different scene. Shun Hui was half-squatting, respectfully lighting a cigarette for me. Brother Xiao Liang, sorry. There might have been a misunderstanding today. She just looked fierce. But now it's all cloudy and sunny. I took a drag of my cigarette. He lifted his chin to the side. There's another one. Yes, yes, yes. Shun Hui quickly took out another cigarette and handed it to Wang Defa, even lighting it himself. Little brother, may I ask how to address you? Wang Defa looked arrogant, calling him Dad. Shun Hui's expression stiffened for a moment, but he still forced a smile. Today I was wrong. From now on, come play at KTV. Name me, free party. Shun Qinglan stood to the side, completely dumbfounded. He had thought his cousin would stand up for him, but unexpectedly Shin Hui, who usually called himself Chun Haonan of the southern border, was a character who usually called himself Chun Haonan of the southern border. At this moment, he was as well-behaved as Ji Minyang. The people sighing upstairs were also shocked. Shin Hui was somewhat well-known in this area. Usually, many people would avoid him when they saw him. But now, he was bowing his head and smiling at two high school students, and the internet administrator Pai Ho was full of admiration. As if he had gotten to know Sister Liang anew, Shin Qinglan said anxiously, "Cousin, what are you doing? Shut up." Shin Hui turned and glared at him. He knew very well that if he hadn't reacted quickly today, he would have been tricked by this cousin and couldn't survive in the southern border. I looked at Shin Qinglan. He was so frightened by my gaze that he took half a step back. The girl who used to treat me like a dog just a while ago finally realizes I'm no longer the person who could control him. I said calmly, "Wang dog, I know what you want to do." Wang Defa grinned darkly, clenched his fists, and walked toward Shin Qinglan. "I've always disliked you, this little delinquent. I used to care about old Liang and couldn't be bothered to talk to you. But now you still dare to call someone to scold us." After saying that, he punched Shin Qinglan squarely in the face. Shin Qinglan drew her gun and fell to the ground in a few steps, clutching her face and wailing loudly. Shin Hui wanted to lose his temper but didn't dare. He could only swallow his anger. I said coldly, "All right, you guys get lost." Shin Hui was burdened with heavy burdens. Exhausted. "See you again if fate allows." After saying that, he helped Shin Qinglan up and slunk out of the alley with a group of underlings. Wang Defa was still clenching his fists, still wandering around. "Old Liang, we've known each other for so long. I really didn't expect you to keep your true intentions hidden. He actually knows a gangster boss." I laughed. "What nonsense gangster boss? It's Lu Hayang's. Lu Dongyang is the big boss behind Zhengxing KTV, and I don't know him, at least not now." Wang Defa was stunned. "Then why just now?" I smiled but didn't explain. Previously, at an investment promotion dinner, he heard gossip about Lu Dongyang. Lu Dongyang had a special relationship with a young nurse surnamed Lu from the city government's Early Childhood Care Supervisory Hospital. Later, that nurse Lu even successfully rose to power. Liang Jin remembered the incident. So he had just impersonated Nurse Lu's cousin and called Zhengxing Group. People like Lu Dongyang might not personally handle small matters, but as soon as the secretary sends a word, the subordinates will apply pressure layer by layer. A junior supervisor like Shin Hui naturally couldn't handle it. Of course, Liang Jin didn't pin all his hopes on this call. He even told Su Wanxin to hold her phone and call the police if necessary. As long as Shin Hui was held back, things wouldn't get out of control. When I turned around, I saw Su Wanxin standing at the stairway, panting. I frowned and said, "Didn't I tell you not to run around? Why are you still coming down?" Su Wanxin looked toward the alley entrance, still a bit scared. Liang Chun was fine, okay? I smiled and said, "It's fine. Let's go pack up and get home soon." After the commotion ended, the three of us left the internet cafe. It was already dark. At the fork in the road, Wang Defa suggested, "Old Liang, it's so late. Why don't we take Comrade Xiaohua home, so he wouldn't run into bad people on the way again?" Su Wanxin quickly refused, saying, "No need. I usually go home alone after evening self-study. It's fine." Wang Defa laughed. "Society is complicated, and hearts are treacherous. We're on the same route, so Comrade Xiaohua, don't refuse." I frowned. On the way, Wang Defa lives in the North District. Su Wanxin lives in the Southern District. What does he mean by going there? Su Wanxin didn't refuse again, so we headed toward the South District. As we walked, Wang Defa suddenly clutched his head and shouted, "Damn, I went the wrong way. Turns out my home isn't in this direction." After saying that, he turned and ran. "Comrade Xiaohua, my mom called me home for dinner. I won't see you off." I watched his back and chuckled. Humorous.